Have you ever stopped to think that the greatest obstacle to God's plan in your life may not be the devil or other people, but you? Many of us truly love the Lord, pray regularly, and want to follow Him, yet without realizing it, we sometimes push against His will. When that happens, we end up exhausted, stuck, and frustrated because we're walking in our own strength instead of His. The good news is this: God is patient. He does not leave us in confusion without warning. When we are resisting Him, He often allows clear signs to surface, not to condemn us, but to gently redirect us. If lately you've felt stuck or restless, it may be time to pay attention. Here are 5 common signs that you may be fighting God's plan for your life. 1. Constant frustration and closed doors. Have you been pouring effort into something only to find that nothing works out? Perhaps every time you push forward, doors slam shut. This isn't always bad luck. It can be God's way of steering you back to His path. Proverbs 19:21 reminds us, "Many are the plans in a person's heart, but it is the Lord's purpose that prevails." Think about Jonah. God told him to go to Nineveh, but Jonah ran the opposite way. What followed? A storm, chaos, and frustration until he surrendered. Sometimes, closed doors are storms of mercy, protecting us from paths that will harm us and pulling us back into God's purpose. 2. Lack of peace, even in success. Another sign of resistance is when you achieve what you wanted, whether it's the job, the relationship, or the promotion, yet you feel restless inside. Outwardly, everything looks great. Inwardly, you feel empty. Colossians 3:15 says, "Let the peace of Christ rule in your hearts." True peace is not tied to circumstances. It flows even in hardship when we are walking with Him. If success still leaves you anxious or dissatisfied, it may be a sign that you're chasing your own will instead of God's. 3. Ignoring godly counsel. When we are set on our own way, we often dismiss the wisdom of others. Maybe a friend, mentor, or pastor has lovingly cautioned you, but their advice doesn't match what you want, so you brush it aside. Scripture warns us in Proverbs 12:15. "The way of fools seems right to them, but the wise listen to advice." God often uses people around us as His mouthpiece. Rejecting godly counsel is dangerous because it closes our ears to His protection. If you find yourself constantly defending your decisions and refusing correction, it may be a sign you are resisting His plan. 4. Living in disobedience or compromise. Sometimes, the struggle is not about confusion, it's about choice. Maybe God has already asked you to let go of a relationship, a habit, or a lifestyle, yet you continue holding on. James 4:17 says, "If anyone, then, knows the good they ought to do and doesn't do it, it is sin for them." Delayed obedience is still disobedience. When we compromise, we block the flow of God's favor. The longer we cling to sin, the longer we remain stuck. God doesn't want half-hearted surrender. He desires a heart that trusts Him fully. 5. Spiritual dryness and lack of fruit. Finally, one of the clearest signs is spiritual dryness. Joy fades, prayer feels empty, worship becomes a chore, and Scripture no longer stirs your heart. Jesus said in John 15:5, "I am the vine, you are the branches. If you remain in me, and I in you, you will bear much fruit. Apart from me, you can do nothing." When we resist His plan, we cut ourselves off from His life-giving flow. The result is a barren soul, but the moment we realign with Him, fruit begins to grow again. Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, and more. How do we realign with God? If you see yourself in these signs, don't lose hope. God does not reveal resistance to shame you, but to rescue you. The answer is simple but powerful. Surrender. Pray, honestly. Tell God where you've been insisting on your own way. He already knows, but He desires your honesty. Seek His word. Let Scripture, not emotion, guide your steps. His word is the lamp that lights your path. Obey quickly. When He makes His will clear, don't delay. Take the step in faith. Trust His timing. Remember, His plan may not fit your timeline, but it is always better. Romans 12:2 urges us, do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, His good, pleasing, and perfect will. A final word. So let me ask, have doors been closing on you? Have you lost peace? Have you dismissed counsel, compromised in obedience, or felt spiritually dry? If so, perhaps it's time to stop fighting and start surrendering. God's plan may not always be easy, but it always leads to peace, life, and purpose. Surrender is not defeat, it's victory. It is the moment you trade your limited plan for God's perfect one. Today, if this message speaks to your heart, pause and whisper a simple prayer. Lord, I surrender. Not my will, but yours be done.